week of February 19th, major heat wave, along with the sixth consecutive week of a major snowstorm here in the Midwest and severe weather across the south central states, recorded Sunday, February 19th. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. A rare type of energetic winter storm is about to hit the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. For the details on why this is rare, you could check the National Weather Service forecast discussion for Sunday, February 19th. It's well explained. There's 2 rounds of snow that will be hitting the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. This is not just Minneapolis. The first round comes in on Wednesday. That itself is just a major winter storm, a significant winter storm event, a 6 to 12 inch type of winter storm. You could have, 6 to 12 inches or so. It's the second phase of this winter storm, the one that comes in Wednesday night through Thursday. That's the one which has rare type of energy to it. The National Weather Service explains it well. It's beyond the scope of this podcast right now to get into it. What we will be talking about is the southeast portion of the storm system where we have a heat wave that's going to be developing for many of the southern states, a real heat wave for the state of Texas and Florida as temperatures go into the 90s. Wednesday afternoon, temperatures may even hit 100 degrees in certain portions of southern Texas. Falcon Lake, Texas, highs going up to about 99. Perhaps if there is a city that hits 100, Falcon Lake, Texas probably would be the city that would do it. In Florida, we have areas, temperatures going into the mid-90s Thursday afternoon. Several days of temperatures solid 90s in Florida. The dew points are actually going to be a little bit lower than usual in the areas that get this intense heat. For Florida, Texas, we have the humidity is up. We have temperatures again going into the 90s, possibly even 100 degrees Wednesday afternoon, and temperatures in the 90s for much of Florida. Going to the north of that, the synoptic weather setup favors high humidity for the Gulf Coast states, along with very warm temperatures, warm and humid conditions, temperatures in the 70s and 80s, widespread 80s for the Gulf Coast states. It would not be surprising to pull off an 80 degrees even in Baltimore by the time you hit Thursday or so. Thursday afternoon, it would not be surprising for temperatures to go up into the low 80s this week for Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C. Any area that's going to be getting a downslope wind from the mountains just to the west in Maryland will likely see temperatures of about 80, maybe even a little bit higher. The question is which area will be getting that. Widespread upper 70s is expected across the mid-Atlantic states and the southeast states with plenty of 80s. We have a severe weather outbreak which is expected to happen this week once again in the classic area from northeast Texas all the way into Tennessee. This includes Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, Shreveport, Louisiana, other portions of Louisiana. There are traditional risks of large hail, damaging winds, and even some tornadoes are a possibility for these areas. Very warm temperatures are going to make its way up into the Ohio area as well once again this week as temperatures soar into the 70s once again, even for places like Cincinnati, Ohio, probably even further north than that. So we have a serious warmth. This is really perhaps the first time this year where you can really feel summer heat starting to take shape over in the Gulf Coast states, especially Texas, as we get very close to that 100-degree mark, possibly even hit it, and temperatures soar into the mid-90s in the state of Florida. That's what's forecasted to happen. We could end up seeing 90s even further north than Florida. That has happened before in the month of February. Certainly in the month of February, we've seen 90s before, even in Oklahoma and in the state of Georgia. So we've seen all that stuff before. This storm that is something else that's unique. That's something when you have a clash of temperatures of this intensity, temperatures in Minneapolis, that area, that National Weather Service tells us that forecast temperatures going down to 15 below zero. So there's an enormous clash in air masses right now. The clash in temperatures that will be happening for the midweek storm. So it's no surprise that there's going to be a powerhouse storm that forms in the Midwest. This is the 6th consecutive week with a major Midwest storm. This storm is going to be the storm of the winter so far. Despite all of the enormous snowfalls we've seen so far, Minneapolis is well above normal for the average snowfall so far this season. Normally they've seen about 30 some inches of snow. They're already in the mid 50s. That's how much snow they've seen so far, and they're about to get hit with 18 inches, maybe even more than that for the Minneapolis area. You know, back in the beginning of January, late December, they had a 12 to 16 inch storm. We saw 20 to 25 inch storms, a 23 inch storm in the Nebraska area in the mid-January, and then we had a 16 inch peak in northwest Arkansas. This storm it's not just a rarity, the energy involved in the storm. There's another aspect to this whole situation, which the National Weather Service is calling a unicorn, an actual unicorn. It's the enormous consistency between all the computer models in forecasting this rare winter storm. It's a winter storm of rare energy, and it's being forecasted by all the models. There's enormous consistency for the past 4 and 5 days already. There's been enormous consistency. It's another rarity. A lot of rarities are happening. That doesn't mean these things are going to come true, but if it didn't, that would be another unicorn. For everything to be forecasting this, it's similar to probably what happened back in 2011, the Groundhog's Day blizzard in Chicago. That blizzard got nailed 7 days in advance. They had it. The forecasters were very well aware of the situation in Chicago 7 days in advance. It feels kind of like that for the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. Meanwhile, an ice storm is forecasted to happen for places to the south of that. Chicago could be included in this ice storm, but climatologically speaking, Chicago does not get ice storms, so we'll have to be updated in regards to that. And Detroit, Michigan might be the peak area of ice according to the latest computer models. So it's an active week this week for the 6th consecutive week here in the Midwest. The snow then moves off to the northeast, bringing heavy snow to the New England area by the end of the week. But the East Coast is still waiting. The coastal cities are still waiting for significant snow. That we'll have to see what's in for us for next week. You have been listening to the podcast Weather with Enthusiasm.